Hello and welcome again to our reading of Homer's Iliad and Book 1, and we were up to line 254, and this is where Nestor addresses them being of course Agamemnon and Achilles, who are at each other's throats at this point. Oh, popoi. We don't really know what this popoi means. It's probably a sign of grief. It's how one translates it just depends. Oh dear, or something. Surely great penthos, great pain, Hikane comes upon the Achaean land. Well, they're not in the Achaean land, in fact, they're in Troy, but there it is. And Achen Gethesai. Now, surely Priam. Now, Gethesai here is third person singular aorist optative. So Priam would rejoice, or perhaps may Priam rejoice, but probably just would rejoice, because we've got an if clause coming up. So Priam would rejoice, and that's the singular, but then we get a change of subject to plural. And the sons of Priam and the other Trojans, mega is adverbial, so greatly, they would greatly kekarai ato. Now that ato ending we've seen before, this is an ionic third person plural. That alpha is really a sonant n, it's really an nto, which before the vowels become an ato, but it's third person. It's a reduplicated aorist optative, third person plural. So they would be glad in their heart if pepoiato, there it is again, there's the third person plural, the alpha for a nu, if they perceived, and then we get a dual, sphoin, and then the dual participle from manamai, fighting. So if they perceived the two of you fighting in respect of all these things. Taripanta. Hoi peri men bulen dunaon peri desti makestai. Now these peris are preverbs with the esti, and parami is to excel. And this is the second person plural here. So you who, the two of you who excel in the, or one excels in the council of the Danans, and you who excel in fighting. So of course the first is a reference to Agamemnon and the second to Achilles. Allah pitheste, but obey me. Eston, this is dual from Amy. In fact, these are all duals. Ampho and Neotero are duals. So this is the second person dual here. You two are more are both younger, and a comparative dative after the comparative here, than me, from mao for mu. So you two are both younger than me. For I once, the a day is slightly odd here, probably something like in now or something. For I kept company, or perhaps at that time or once, for I once kept company with men who were even osin, greater, better, for a than, so indeed than. Now we'd expect perhaps a genitive here, but we get a dative, probably attracted by the fact that this is in the dative. So I kept company with men who were indeed even greater than you. Kai u poti me hoi atherisdon. And they never, in fact, disregarded, or so this verb here means to disdain or scorn or disrespect. So they in fact never disrespected me. Uga po toios idon, and for never yet did I see such men, nor, now we get idomai here for subjunctive with a future sense, so nor will I ever see them, so in other words, you won't see their like again. Hoion, such as Perithoos and Dryas, shepherd of the people, and Kynius and Epaxidion, and godlike Polyphemus. These were all Lapith leaders, so you can look up the commentaries on the story of the Lapiths, but these were all leaders of the Lapiths, and Theseus, the son of Aegeus, like to the immortals. This line may be a later Athenian interpolation in order to get Theseus into the story. Again, see the commentaries here. Kartistoi de Kanoi. Now, the cart for cart. So this is something that happens in poetry, really. It would have been originally kratistos, so kratistoi, and you get a swapping of these two letters. And you see it again, I think, on the next line here. In fact, you get it 3 times, so it's a threefold expression here in order to heighten the importance of these people. So they, now the traphen is from etraphesan. Traphen is for etraphesan. We've seen this before. In the aorist passive you get this shortened form. So these men were reared as the best of men upon the earth. They were the best, and they fought with the best men, with the greatest men, the strongest men. So they were the strongest, I should say, not best really. So these were indeed were reared as the strongest of all men upon the earth. They were the strongest, and they fought with the strongest men. And with Pharisee, now that phi, this is probably an Aeolic form for with a theta there. So Therasin, which is beasts, it's probably some sort of Aeolic form here. There have been emendations of it, but it's probably best to leave it as a phi, I think, and just see it as an Aeolic form. These may have been the centaurs, in fact, and they're Oris Gorioisin. Now the Oris is obvious, that's something to do with mountain, and the other part here is not clear at all what root this comes from. It's translated as having, so these are wild beasts having their lairs in the mountains, and Apollocen, they perished, ek paglos, horribly or terribly. And with these, I used to keep company with these men, having come from Pylos, from long distance, from an Apies Gaias, from a distant land. Now the commentators have said that Apiae Gaiae, put some capitals here, this may be an ancient name for the Peloponnesos. For they themselves invited me. This is the aorist middle here, without augment. And I also fought cat em auton by myself. Not quite clear what this means, but it may refer to the fact that he doesn't have a chariot and someone there to as backup, but he fought on foot without any assistance, nor would anyone of those mortals who now are upon the earth, would they fight kenoisi for ekanos with these men. So nobody around who's around nowadays would dare to fight with these men. Xun Ien is from, in Attic it would be Sun I Esan. This is the imperfect of Xun Hiemi, to take heed of. This is a shortened form here. So, to take heed of. So, they took heed of my counsels, and they obeyed my word. But you also obey, since it is better to obey. And I might just mention here that this is this interesting ring structure in Homer that you get constantly. So back in 259 it says, accept my advice. Then 260 to 61, I kept company with men who accepted my advice. Then he tells their story. Then he says they were better men than you because they listened to me. And then finally, so accept my advice. So we get this A, B, C, B dash, A dash structure. And I'll finish at that point.